Respect the name.
Respect the name.
Respect the name.
Respect the name.
Yo, respect the name.
Respeta el nombre.
Respect the name.
Respect the name. Oye, repeta.
Respect the name.
Mickey Bourbon, aka Whiskey God, from Belmont, New Jersey. Asbury, Neptune, bounced around a lot, but hip hop is life, love is love. So the way my name came about was I lived with a Puerto Rican family from ages 12 to like 16, and I was always a Mikey. I'm a Sicilian kid, everybody's always called me Mikey my whole life, and the accent fucked them up, and they just couldn't get it right. It just kept on Miki, Miki, Miki. You know, there was a spazzing on me all the time with that, and it just stuck as Mickey. And I never really, it was just stuck in the household, but when it came to hip hop, I started using it for that because, you know what, when you say Mikey all the time, A, people think you're a child, or B, people forget that shit and they start spelling it wrong anyway, and they write M-I-C-K-E-Y. They can't just write M-I-K-E-Y, so I stuck with it. The bourbon part, a little bit of a drinking problem for a lot of years now. I've got that shit solid under control. I don't really fuck around like that heavy, but my blood type was Maker's Mark for a solid 10 years, and it just stuck, you know? So I got called a lot of things growing up. One of them is funny, it was divinity, because I used to be with the gods and the 5%ers out there, and I was a wigger, and it was funny to them, but it actually got serious after a while, and they were like, divinity, knowledge, born, what's good, what's the mathematics, and fuck with me. I was IB&M in Belmar and shit like that. They was cool ass dudes, but also I refer to myself as the whiskey god because not only the rap part of it, but I elevated above that alcohol dependency and that drunkenness, and now if I could conquer that, I could conquer anything, you know, to the point where, you know, fortunately I didn't have the 12-step program rehab. I pull myself out of that shit regularly, and I can go anywhere where alcohol, have a beer, set it down, I'm good for the night. So I'm very fortunate. Local Lush, that also derivative from the alcohol. Everybody calls me the local Lush because I walk in any bar in like Belmar, all that shit, and it's immediately, hey, Mikey, Mickey. It was immediately the local Lush. They all knew my drunk ass, and I survived and functioned like that. I was not sloppy drunk, throw up everywhere. I handled my shit, and I was just drunk 24/7 living. So that shit is exactly like that. Honey Badger, that's my favorite one because if you've ever seen Honey Badger on National Geographic, it's not that they are apex predators. It's not that they kill. It's that they don't give a fuck. They'll fight 6 lions, get their ass whooped, and still keep fighting. They chase animals after they hit them, even though they know they might get hurt and beat down, and that's always been my spirit. My spirit animal is absolutely a Honey Badger because if it's 8-on-1, and it's happened before, broken ribs, busted up face, I don't care, 4-on-1, I'm not running. We're gonna stay here and we're gonna handle this. But that goes for all life's problems, not just tough guy shit. I'm gonna stand there, I'm gonna face it. Whatever the fuck's put in front of me, we're gonna handle it right here, and we're not gonna let these demons stay on my back the rest of my life. So that's where I go with that shit. So the way I got inspired into hip-hop is I moved from a middle-class home. My mother had gotten clean, and my grandparents gave me the offer to get out of their house in a beautiful middle-class home. And she was just getting on her feet, getting herself together. And I got moved to an area in Neptune, New Jersey. It was beautiful, it was a multicultural school, cool. But I ain't know shit about rap, hip-hop. I actually sat and wrote poetry every day in a composition notebook with the marble cover. And dudes in class found that shit. And they picked it up, and I got fucking roasted that day. Oh, he writes poetry, little soft ass, you know, stinging me that day. It was funny now, looking back, but I was hurting that day. That same day, I walked to the bus, and they had a cipher going. 2 of the dudes that was stinging me, and they was rapping, and I was like, yo, literally what I'm doing in my notebook is what they doing, except I know I'll go home. And I sat there for about 5-6 hours and just kept writing it, kept reciting it, kept writing it, kept reciting it. By the time I got in the next day, I was ready, and I walked to that same bus stop, and that same cipher was going, and I just started cooking motherfuckers, and that shit was whack. But to them, so that was before Eminem, that was some little ass 12-year-old white boy just walked up and cooked 2 dudes, it fucking blew people out their minds. And I was like, wow, I like this outlet better, because you know what, my poetry had to be shy in the dark. I didn't want to be picked on, bullied for it. Hip-hop, I wanted to be in the light all the time, and that's how it was. And I just got to the point where every corner, every stairwell, I just slid in there, whether it was in, you gotta earn that respect, especially being somewhere where you don't look like you fit in. You better be good or double good, or you get sent the fuck home. So you got choices. You could just follow me. I'd appreciate that. It means the world. Love is love. Or you can leave, follow, get the fuck out of the way. Those are the only options. You go to Mickey_Bourbon on IG. You go to Mickey Bourbon on Bookface and that shit. You go to Mickey Bourbon on Twitter. You go to Mickey Bourbon on YouTube. You can check me out. I'm putting out an album with Bourbon right now, the homie over in Germany, ill producer. It's going to be a 7-song EP. We already dropped 2 of them. We got Devil's Advocate that I already dropped with Snow Goons, Bourbon, and Shot Elemental. I would love for y'all to peep that shit on all platforms. But most importantly, respect the fucking name.